Welcome back to another episode of Why I Love BNI, your podcast spotlighting different businesses and different chapters in different regions on what they love about their business and being a part of the BNI family. So today I'm super excited to have my guest Gerry with us today. Thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. My pleasure. Thank you.
Of course. Well, I'm super excited for us to get connected because this is a great job, what you do. I am a total fan. I wish I had half the skills you do. I'll let you kind of take it away and just tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help people.
All righty. Well, it's GS Katz Photography instead of Gerry. I used to go by Gerry, but it's easier for folks to remember the GS. I've been a photographer for 46 years. I have a degree in recreational special ed and a master's in multimedia communications. Been a photographer for 46 years. I originally wanted to get into television, but no one ever called. So I started pursuing my hobby and getting paid for it. And 46 years later, here I am, just loving it even more than the day I started. And
That's
it's
amazing.
interesting. The first one, I went to get a job at a place called the Portrait Shop, very first time. And all they had was an opportunity for someone to play Santa Claus. So my first photography job officially was playing Santa Claus, which I thought, oh my God, terrible costume, very uncomfortable. But I got to watch the photographer for 5 weeks, 3 days a week, and it was like a class.
Oh,
They taught me how to shoot weddings and commercial photography. The guy was a retired Navy diver photographer, and they just taught me from day one. And I also teach a photography class, and what I do is teach exactly to my students what I was taught as a student. So
wow.
good ride. I'm having a great time.
That's amazing. It sounds like Santa Claus does grant all wishes,
Yeah,
or being Santa Claus grants all wishes.
did for me.
Well, that's super cool. And like I mentioned, I love photography and I feel like I could get really, really nerdy with this. So I'll like try to scale it back just a little bit for people to follow along. But what do you think is the most important thing about photography that a lot of people don't realize?
If you want to do it for a living, and kids ask me all the time, I'd like to do this, and they'll come along. What they don't realize is 65% of the time I spend networking. I only
Mm,
spend 35% of the time shooting. And it's never the things that you shoot as a hobby photographer. So if you think just because you shoot great landscapes or you shoot pretty flowers that you could make a living as a photographer, maybe or may not be true. You have to
mm,
love getting up early, you have to love going to the networks, and then you have to be able to walk into a situation which may be just odd and off the wall sometimes, and you've got to have the skills and the experience to know how to light it, how to compose it, and how to shoot it. And if you can, give your client a couple of three choices. That's your job, to walk in there and figure out what they need for their jobs, for their advertising, for what they're showing, and give them a couple of three choices based on what you know to do.
yeah, that's really important. A lot of people, when they start moving their hobby into a business, they don't realize that connections are everything, and that's the biggest part. And referrals are the best way to get business. It's
Especially with photography, you can advertise, but I don't ever get much. I don't advertise
mm,
much at all anymore because it's
yeah,
word of mouth. And if word of mouth is good, then it spreads faster than just media advertising.
so true. I know a big thing that you also do is branding photography that you mentioned to me briefly. So, what should people know if they're looking into, possibly getting some headshots for their branding, or what should they keep in mind when they come to you?
Headshots are good. You know, I was taught a long time ago, and I still believe it, that you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Headshots are good. It should be done correctly. Photography is a two-dimensional craft. You got to know how to pose it and light it so as to appear to be three-dimensional with depth. Branding, we're in a visual society. If you're not using branding photography, then you're missing an opportunity for thousands of dollars worth of advertising on your platforms that you only have to pay a couple of $300. You know,
Mhm.
I'll come shoot branding photography for you, 6 to 12, $300. I come and do a headshot session. I bring my portable studio with me. I charge $175.
Wow.
Right side and the left side because everybody has a better side. And then we do formal and informal. Because when I leave, I want to make sure that no matter what comes up, you'll have the proper headshot, whether you're talking to a group or whether you're doing a business card or whether you're online. All those
Definitely.
all those things are different. All those things take different images, and I provide all that with the headshot session.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are maybe scared to invest in headshots because when it comes to something like investing in your business, you have to be, understanding what people want to mostly only invest in things that yield results ASAP or things that they can track. And you
And
can't necessarily track something like that, but you know how important it is. You just mentioned the first impressions.
yeah, I've taken classes, humanistic psychology classes set up for photographers. You know, a lot of people don't realize, but if you have a name tag, you should wear it on your right side.
I
Because
didn't realize that.
when you go to shake hands, your eyes naturally go right there. And that's one of the things you learn human behavior in terms of photography. Human behavior is the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over for thousands of years. If you become familiar with human behavior, you can see photography and images happening seconds before they happen, and then you should be there waiting with your camera to get the picture.
Definitely. Like, I know my parents, they took headshots a billion years ago and they still use them. A lot of people do. They take one really great headshot photo shoot, and then they use it for years and years and years.
Well,
I know
you need to keep up with that because I see that a lot in a lot of different fields, and agents or people will show up and the client's only seen their headshot and they'll, I'm sorry, did you send your mother instead or did you send your dad? So, you know, you should keep up with them. If it's more
definitely.
than 3 or 4 years old, you should redo it because we do change.
Definitely. I was just saying in terms of if you're really, really, really scared, I'm like, "Oh, I don't wanna invest in something like that." I have to always change it. I mean, if you have a good one, you can use it for a little bit, but definitely making sure that you're on top of it as we change, and small things change in us too. Sometimes I know a lot of people, maybe they've dropped dead weight in their life or something, and they come
Yeah.
back to their photo shoot 4 years later, and they're so much happier. So there are things like that that happen too.
And you know, there's a lot of ways to look at it. There's a lot of people that charge $300-400 for a headshot session. You get one picture. Any others that you want, you have to pay for. I charge 175, and you get everything that I shoot on a thumb drive.
Wow.
You
That's
usually
amazing.
usually end up with about a dozen pictures because I include you in the shooting. I explain to you what we're doing and how it works, and it makes it more personal. You become somebody that's involved in the session opposed to somebody that's outside the circle just being given instructions.
Exactly.
There's a,
Yeah,
there's a lot, but you
there
know,
is.
no need to overpay. I guess if photographers can get it, more power to them, but that's what I'm comfortable with it at this point in my career.
Yeah, it makes it easy. I mean, I remember still when I was young, probably no more than 7 or 8, my family, we did a family photo shoot. And obviously I was a child and I didn't understand how to be in front of a camera. So I remember one of the photographer, he gave me a joke. I don't even remember specifically the joke. It was like something about like a knock knock banana joke or something like that. Um, and I immediately opened up, and those are still some of the photos that my family still cherishes from when I was a child. And it took a good photographer to do that.
And you know, the difference is exactly what you said. Most photographers that I know have skills, but the difference in a good and a great photograph is how your client or how your subject matter feels with who's behind the camera. So,
Mm,
personality, experience, how you work with folks, your professionality, your courtesy, your manners, all those things matter subconsciously with your subjects or your clients, and they always reflect in how they look or how they feel. If you can get a client to the point where Jerry's just one of the guys, then you're going to take the greatest picture that you've ever taken before because you're comfortable and you are yourself.
definitely.
Authenticity, that's the power, authenticity.
Yeah, and people can tell that when they look at your photos. I think I can definitely tell
Yeah.
when someone's faking a smile or they look uncomfortable, or, I think a very common
And
one,
it
they like the
matters. People think
yes.
it doesn't matter, but subconsciously in the total collection of information, it matters hugely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think we could talk about this for a few more hours because this is so fascinating for me, and it's awesome to hear someone like you speaking about it. But switching gears just a little bit, I'd love to hear, who's the first person that invited you to BNI?
Geez, I lived in Oregon for 20 years, and I moved from there 5 years ago. So 18 years ago or so, we started a BNI chapter in Oregon.
Mm,
It was very small. It didn't keep up. It didn't work. I think they've got a new one now. But when I moved here, I knew of BNI, and I met several friends in the Chamber of Commerce, and they suggested that I come, and I did, and I decided to join, and it's been a good thing. It's been, yeah, we have 80 folks or so in our group, and you basically have that many sales representatives. And it's
definitely.
people that are motivated. You don't pay to get into a networking group unless you're an A personality motivated. So everybody in there is in there for the same reasons. Everybody's motivated. Everybody's increasing their business, increasing their income. Everybody's learning to be professional and how to talk to folks and how to present themselves. It's a good place to work out and share what it is, what you're passionate about.
For sure. Well, that's awesome. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit about, you have such a great skill and I can see some of the photos in the background. So you're just amazing at what you do. So I appreciate you coming on and taking a few minutes to educate me on it.
My website is gskatzphotos.com. And if anybody needs a text, it's 541-324-8289. I'm in Sanford, and my tagline is, if you don't know photography, know your photographer.
That's perfect. I'll make sure I have all of his information in the description so you can click, copy and paste, check all those things out a little bit easier. So again, thank you so much for the time. I really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Mason. You're a
Okay.
joy. I
Oh,
appreciate it. Thank
thank
you
you.
so much.
And to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.